Hello and welcome to the Data Privacy Lawyer. My name is Fumi Owolabi and I am the principal attorney at the firm. Today's review is going to be on privacy. So I'm actually a consumer of this product. I do have products from this organization. So my review today is not just going to be related to the website. I'm also going to take a look at what's in scope. Now the website is the view that I have, and it's very clear that it says website terms of service. Now, traditionally, terms of service are documents drafted by contract attorneys because the terms of service are a contract between a consumer and the organization, the company. It's not traditionally a privacy document like the way a privacy policy is, a privacy notice, a cookie notice, or a cookie policy. Those documents are documents that I draft as a privacy lawyer. They are my responsibility. The terms of service generally are not my responsibility. However, there are instances and provisions in the terms that are influenced by the privacy policy, and as such, there are portions in a terms of service that are generally reviewed by privacy counsel to ensure consistency between the service and what is dictated from a privacy perspective, which is why we review all types of public-facing legal documents, because generally there are provisions that are influenced by the privacy notice, okay? And sometimes you'll see, and it might appear here, but what you generally might see is each document will flow into another. Sometimes you'll see documents that say things like, these terms of service are incorporated by reference into the privacy notice, or the privacy policy or privacy notice is incorporated by reference into this terms of service, meaning you got to read them together as a consumer. Consumers should not just be reading a terms of service if a privacy notice or a privacy policy is incorporated by reference. That means something. Now, let's see if that appears here. Okay, perfect. So whenever I'm reviewing these documents, I'm reviewing them alongside you as the viewer. I never review them in advance because I think it's really important for you to see an authentic review of what considerations a business might have. So I'm reading this alongside you, and based on that information I gave you above, we can see here that you need to agree to these terms to use our platform. By using the platform, you're instructing us to share your data, right? I'm presuming some of it's personal data, across our platform for marketing, eligibility, and other purposes described in the Global Privacy Statement. Why are they including this? In their terms, they're including this. Now, this is the document that is my forte. This is the one that I am consistently drafting and creating for businesses, but it is incorporated into these terms. And we can see that there's discussion about data, including credit information. This credit information is likely about consumers. I'm a consumer of their products, so they definitely have my credit information, right? Fumi Owolabi's credit information. So that constitutes personal data. And so that's why it's really important to not just review the privacy statement, but also look at the responsibilities that organizations have as it pertains to the terms they're distributing. So when I provide advice for my clients, I always ask for this document, because even though I'm not responsible for drafting every single provision, there are going to be provisions that I am going to edit because they influence personal data. So I draft and create this one, and then I provide insights to the terms because there's a relationship with personal data. Same with the AI policies that I've reviewed, same with the AI notices that I review. So that's really important. Let's take another look at this, right? We've got another link to the privacy statement. You understand that by using certain services, you are providing written instructions in accordance with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And I've talked a lot about this. This is a federal privacy law that influences how financial institutions can process certain types of personal data. So you can see here another relationship to personal data, even though this is not a traditional privacy document. And other applicable law to permit Intuit Inc. and its affiliated companies to obtain and periodically refresh your consumer report information. Now, for anybody that's not familiar with what this is, I feel like this is something that's very US based maybe, but the consumer report generally provides insights to financial institutions about who you are as a consumer. It might have your name, your email address, your mailing address perhaps. It's going to have information related to creditworthiness at times. See, we can see here includes credit report. And your credit report pulls on lots of information about you as an individual from a financial perspective. So again, they've dictated the fact that This information is going to be collected and is described in the global privacy statement. So as I'm drafting and creating these privacy statement for organizations, I'm also making sure that there are provisions in the terms that address what's being done here. Now, my favorite words, your personal information. We want to be transparent about how we use it. Now, this would be something that I would create generally for my own client. And you can see the document this relates to. It relates to the terms of service. But again, already just in the first couple sentences and in the first couple provisions, you can see how much of this is influenced by privacy. And that's why we review it on the channel, because we look at how businesses do privacy throughout the organization within all of their business units. So let's take a look at this. You agree that Intuit may use and maintain your personal information according to the privacy statement. So as a consumer, it's really important for you not to just look at the terms, also take a look at the privacy statement. If you have comments or questions, you can generally ask the organization, which is why it's important for them to address who is the controller. Let me scroll to the bottom. There's something I want to take a look at. Okay. I wanted to take a look at this for the contact information, because if you have questions or comments about a particular service, or you want to exercise a right, let's say, for example, you are already a consumer of the services being provided. If you want to exercise rights associated with your personal data, you have the opportunity to do that by contacting this organization. And I checked on this because although this is not the privacy document, in some geographies, it's a requirement for businesses to have two ways in which you can contact them. Generally through a contact form on their site and also an email address or phone number. That's why I scrolled to the bottom. But let's go to the personal data section. I want to take a look at some of the language. To the extent we allow you to input your personal information as the term is defined under applicable, this is very important. So I talk a lot about geography. Geography influences certain terminology. The term personal information constitutes something different country to country. In some geographies, there is terminology known as a special category of personal information. In some geographies, we know about sensitive personal information. What constitutes sensitive personal information varies from geography to geography. And if organization is going to process anything that constitutes sensitive, that's a consideration that they need to have. Now, we already know that they process financial data, which is considered sensitive in the United States. So there are heightened safeguards that an organization processing that type of personal data will need to take into consideration when not only drafting their terms of service, but in the mechanisms that they facilitate when that information is provided by a consumer. So privacy lawyers don't just draft these public-facing documents. We also take a look at the products and solutions that an organization has and look at the considerations that a company has when creating them. And that term is called privacy by design. Now, we're not going to go into that today. Today's review is going to be on these terms of service, but I hope you enjoyed this review and I hope you enjoyed understanding what considerations are taken into place from a privacy perspective. And if you like this type of content, subscribe and I will see you in another review.